Hi, and welcome to Sacred Spaces. My name's Glenford. Tonight's episode is a bit different. I'm in Preston, and I'm playing in a sandpit. And I'm at a very unusual childcare centre with a unique difference. Let's go inside and find out why. Kane, Matthew, welcome to Sacred Spaces.
Thanks.
So we're at the Inspire Early Learning Journey in Preston.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me about the actual beginnings of the building and the story behind it.
Sure. Well, the original idea was to demolish the whole site and start from scratch, but there's a heritage overlay on the site, and the council were quite keen to keep the heritage building here. So we had to work closely with council and negotiate as to what bits of the building we could retain and what we could demolish. There's a couple of features around the corner, like a Dutch gable that we had to retain, but everything behind that and a couple of chimneys we could get rid of. So that helped us get the maximum yield we could with the amount of children we need to get on site to make it work. And then we had to also work closely with the Heritage Advisor at Darebin Council to talk about what form the new part of the building could take and also how it integrated with the existing building. So we had to set it back from the wall here, we had to set it back a distance so they look like separate buildings, and the architecture had to be completely different. They don't really go for sort of fake heritage architecture. So we had to come up with something that was unique.
And Matthew, what was your involvement at this stage?
So we came to the job after a tender process, and we met the client and we met Kane, and there was issues in and around budget. And trying to get to the budget that made the job stack up. So we worked pretty closely with them to redesign and get the job to stack up to come to it, and then we followed through with the build.
Fantastic. Okay, well let's go and look at some of the build.
Thanks.
So Kane, we're on the first floor rooftop. Tell me about some of the innovations that went on here.
Okay, so the screen that you've seen from downstairs, we did that to give some presence from the street, but what the Department of Education are really keen on is making these first floor areas not feel like they're too enclosed and feel like prisons. So we wanted to have a high screen so that the children can't really throw things over the top and throw things into the neighbours. So we put all these portal windows in, the circular ones you can see everywhere. That's for a couple of reasons. One, so that children can see beyond their immediate context and out into the long distance. And that long distance view is really important from their eyesight development. And there's been studies conducted to show that if the children don't have that long vision, their long vision actually gets impaired over an extended period. So having that view externally is really, really important.
And there was also, I think, some decisions made about the flooring, which is really interesting.
Well, it was more about this structure as a whole. Yeah. The original design was composite, some different methods of construction. So obviously with a childcare centre there's mandated outdoor space, so many square metres per child. So we couldn't reduce that, but what we could do is rationalise the structure to make it all one. So we've rationalised the steel, put a concrete slab all the way through, went back and redesigned that, and that was able to save nearly $250,000 that got the job up off the ground.
Yeah, and it really makes it robust as well. So having a fully concrete frame and having it fully tanked and waterproofed and having floor waste right throughout, it means that the building's going to have a really long life.
Yeah.
And from an aesthetic point of view, I really like the structure of the fencing. It just gives it that sort of, a very engaging, warm feel about it, both from the outside and from the inside.
Yeah.
So how did you come across that idea?
That's an interesting question, actually. Just doing a lot of research and trying to find something that didn't feel like it was too enclosed, had a natural material, and gave the children a mixture of privacy and gave them the view through. It just seemed like a sensible solution.
It definitely works.
Yeah, it does.
So Elena, welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you.
Good. Now you've been running this beautiful centre for the last 7 months. Tell me, how's it going?
It's doing really, really well, unexpectedly, and then we are all very happy. We've created a really nice community between the teachers, the team, and the parents and the children.
And one of the interesting things is, of course, it's a new building.
Yeah.
So the architecture has been specifically built for Inspire Early Learning Journey. How has that impacted, do you think, on the kids' learning and their appreciation?
Okay, basically Montessori has actually been around for 100 years. So it's actually, there is a big connection between the history and then the culture in it as a component of learning. So having the heritage building mixed with the contemporary building, it's a really good mix for the children to learn and then to understand the differences in the different time.
Right. And you were saying earlier about the light.
Yes. As you can see when you walk around, and then all classrooms have, like wall-to-wall windows, and then having a look out to the world, being in the, in the Preston area, in the building. It's just a nice feel, and then we have parents walk in, they didn't realize that the inside can be this charming, very homey feel, because from the outside it's just like another building, and then it's in Preston. So when they come in, they sort of like, actually a lot of parents said that we are the gems in Preston. So we're happy with the mix of the old and new building.
Fantastic. And tell me a little bit about Montessori. What are the efforts, the ethos, and the methodology behind Montessori? How does it differ?
So the difference is that Montessori actually look at children as an individual, and all the teachers that actually work in the Montessori classroom, they have to be trained to be able to deliver and implement the programs. And the difference is also that we have beautiful materials that the children actually engage and stimulated with. So we know exactly what the children's level of learning and then also learning pace, because every child is different and every child is unique. So Montessori philosophy is actually based on observation as well.
And who was Montessori?
So Maria Montessori developed the philosophy about probably more than 100 years ago, and then started with working with special needs children or children with learning difficulties. But she was actually the first female physician, the first female doctor in Italy at that time. So back in 1908, so it's a long time ago. And so she actually developed the curriculum for the normal children as well as the children with learning difficulties, and then it's been working really well, and all based on hands-on learning. And then child size, like you can see that we are sitting in a small little chairs, is actually developed by Maria Montessori in that era, and then all the educational philosophy started to see the benefits of it.
Wonderful. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Matt, you were saying that there was a high level of trust in this project. Tell me about that.
Well, after we tendered the job, it came through Kane, the architect. We met Stephen and we met Ia, and built up a relationship in terms of looking with them to redesign the project, to get it back to the budget, to meet their mark. So we developed some trust that was able to, I suppose, a mutual benefit to get the job up off the ground.
And you're saying also that there was a collaboration, there was a relationship there that was maybe different from other projects.
Well, I suppose a lot of projects are just that straight tender and we get out and we build it and it's a commercial deal. But when you have that collaboration, you have both parties pulling for the same end, you get a good result, but you also get it for the good price. And that's, frankly, the way we prefer to do our business.
Sure. And so you obviously must be quite proud about the outcome, and we've got kids running around enjoying themselves, and it's all down to your efforts and your expertise. Yes,
well, we always are. We like community projects. We like projects that have that community feel, and to see the kids in here today is fantastic. To see, well, it's the fruits of your labour, isn't it?
Yeah. So is this the first time you've been back since it was built?
First time, I have been back since it was built. Obviously to attend to bits and pieces, but the first time I've actually seen it in operation with all the kids in the Montessori.
Fantastic. Yep. many childcare centres have we done now?
It's around 20 that we've done up until this point, and we've got 8 or 9, maybe 10 on the go at the moment.
And what's the attraction?
Look, it was never something I intended to do, but we got introduced to a childcare client about 10 years ago, and we really like the projects in that they're not like anything else. You know, they can't look like homes or they can't look like anything else. They have to be aesthetically. They have to look like something other. You know, they have to be unrecognisable in a way, so that they, you know, you look at them and you can see that it's not a house that's just been made to look like a childcare centre. It's actually a unique building in itself. So that was the first sort of attraction, and a lot of the clients are aspirational too, because they want to have centres that look really great. They're good because the parents don't feel guilty dropping their kids off, and that's something we try to make in all of our centres. So when you drop your child off, and even though they might be upset, you look around you and go, this is a quality place to leave our children for the day. So they're the real main drivers. Is they're good in sort of community buildings. Yeah.
And this centre in particular is quite unique, isn't it?
Well, for us it was at the time when we started this one. It was the first one that we had designed. It was going to be a 2-storey centre. All of them up until that point had been single-storey on big parcels of land in the outer suburbs. So this one's interesting because it is a tight site, and the client wanted to get quite a lot of children on it, which meant it had to be 2 storeys, and a lot of the play area, half the play area, is on the first floor, which poses a lot of problems. And the biggest problem is that the Department of Education never really contemplated having 2-storey centres, so all their current guidelines don't consider it. So how do you make a first floor playground feel like it's not? And that's the real trick. And at the moment we're authoring the Early Childhood Centre Design Guide with the Department of Education to set the guidelines and the expectations for environments like this. So it's a really important project, and it's going to change the way people think about childcare centres, particularly multi-storey ones.
So Kane, tell me about the collaboration between yourselves and APM, which allowed for this centre. Yeah,
so the collaborative process was really expanded much more than just with the contractor APM. We had to collaborate with, because this is our first 2-storey centre, we had to collaborate quite heavily with APM to get it built to budget, and we had to, as well as while doing that, we had to collaborate with the client as well, because they had certain expectations of yield and so on. But we also had to collaborate with the Department of Education, because the 2-storey centres are kind of a new thing for them. So during that collaborative process, we learned a lot, and it's led to us dealing more with the Department of Education, so that we know what to expect now when we're doing 2-storey centres. So it was really important at an early stage, as early as possible, to go and talk to a good contractor like APM, to have really frank discussions with your client about expectations, and to engage with the department really early, because everyone has a completely different focus. You know, the client wants to spend as least amount as possible while getting the most amount of children in. The contractor wants to do as straightforward a job as possible and adds value by bringing constructability into the process. And the Department of Education, all they care about is the children and their health, safety and well-being. So we've got to, you know, we're the servant of so many masters, we've got to get that all to work. And that's the real trick, particularly with multi-storey centres like this.
Well done.
Thank you.
Thank you. Kane, so where are we now?
So we've just, reception's just here, and this is in the heritage building, the existing building that we had to work with. And the funny thing about this building was when we took it over, there was a whole lot of squatters in here, so we had to work with the builders to get them out carefully and not upset anyone. Well, I wasn't involved, so I don't know how hard it was. All I know that we had to deal with it. So we had to get them out and make this secure so they couldn't get back in easily, and then deal with all the refuse and other things that they left behind. So that was a real trick. Yeah, and this is linking the existing building to the new building, and this is under a part of the roof of the existing building that we had to retain. So got a slate roof and a Dutch gable. We had to retain that because the Heritage Advisor was really keen on keeping certain parts of the existing building, and that was one of them. And so what we did is we kept that roof but then made this glazed link connecting the two. So it created kind of a bit of a invisible link, almost invisible link between the two, and it actually helps us get light from the northern side into the courtyard that's behind us. Yeah.
And it works quite well because it's quite a natural progression from the old to the new.
Yeah, it does, and the Heritage Advisor was also keen on us separating the two, so we had to think of something that was kind of a bit clever and that worked with both buildings really well, and it does. It works nicely connecting the two buildings.
Thank you. Kane, Matthew, Elena, thanks for showing me around. It's been fascinating, it's been educational, it's been fun. Now, as you know, the show's called Sacred Spaces. We always like people to nominate their favourite place. So, Kane, what's yours?
My favourite place is a very small space on the first floor. It's near one of our round windows, and it's just this little seat right next to the round window that overlooks the playground on the south side. I think it's really beautiful.
Matthew, what's yours?
I really love the upstairs outdoor playground. I think Kane and CoLab have done a great job creating that and creating a very nice place which is secure as well for the kids, but it also reminds us of the journey that we went on in getting this job right.
Thank you. And Elena?
It's actually here because it's between the old building and the modern building, and then it's a good selling point too. And then also we are standing on the real natural grass, which is great for the children.
Fantastic. Okay. Well, thanks guys, it's been a lot of fun, and let's do it again another time.
Thank you.
You've been watching Sacred Spaces, and we'll see you next time.